The arena had been transformed into something massive and terrifying. It stretched across an entire section of Station Valhalla 9, with environments ranging from frozen tundra to scorching desert. Millions watched via holographic broadcasts across hundreds of worlds. The Apex Council presided from a floating observation platform, their judgment absolute. 50 species gathered at the starting point. The Vraxians stood tall and proud in their black armor. The Thornak, massive bear-like creatures, growled and flexed their stone-hard muscles. The Kalmiri, serpentine and six-armed, hissed with anticipation, and among them, looking small and fragile, stood the human team. Tae-Sung, Hwan, Yuna, Ji-Won, and 3 other humans. 7 in total. They wore simple clothing and carried no weapons. Compared to the towering aliens around them, they looked like children. The crowd murmured. Some laughed. The betting pools showed 100-to-1 odds against humanity. This would be a massacre, a lesson about the natural order. But in the observation deck, the Dravok elders watched with different eyes. They saw how the humans moved, how they watched everything, how they waited with patient predator focus. The first challenge was announced. The Hunt. Each team would be released into a 100-square-kilometer wilderness simulation. Their task was to track and capture a Xylar, a creature known for its speed and intelligence. Most species would complete this in 2 to 3 hours using their natural advantages. The horn sounded. The team scattered into the wilderness. The Vraxians used brute force, crashing through vegetation and searching methodically. The Kalmiri used thermal sensing to track heat signatures. The Thornak used their incredible sense of smell. Each species relied on their biological advantages. The human team did something different. They stopped running. They looked at the ground. Yuna knelt and examined broken twigs. Hwan studied the pattern of disturbed leaves. Ji-Won analyzed droppings and determined how old they were. It went this way, Yuna said, pointing. Moving fast but starting to tire. It will need water soon. There is a stream 3 kilometers northeast, Tae-Sung said, checking his basic scanner. If it needs water, it will go there. The humans moved at a steady jog. Not fast, just persistent. They followed tracks that other species would have missed. They read the environment like a book written in soil and broken plants. 18 hours passed. Most species had already completed the challenge. The Vraxians finished in 2 hours, the Kalmiri in 90 minutes, but the humans kept moving at their steady pace, 20 hours. The crowd grew bored. Some commentators mocked the humans for being slow. At hour 23, the human team found the Xylar. It was resting near a stream, exhausted from evading so many predators. It saw the humans and tried to run, but it was too tired. Yuna and Hwan moved in from opposite sides. The creature had nowhere to go. They captured it carefully and brought it to the collection point. The officials looked surprised. You are the last team to finish. But we finished, Hwan said simply. The second challenge began immediately. The Gauntlet. Teams had to defend a position against waves of combat drones programmed to attack with increasing difficulty. Most teams lasted 45 to 60 minutes before being overwhelmed. The human team formed a circle. They covered each other's backs. Hwan called out positions like a conductor leading an orchestra. Left side! 3 coming in. Yuna, rotate! Ji-Won, cover the rear. They moved as one unit. When one person was injured, the formation adjusted instantly. They communicated constantly, sharing information and coordinates. The drones were fast and dangerous, but they attacked individually. The humans fought as a pack. 1 hour passed. 2 hours. The crowd started paying attention. 3 hours passed. The human formation never broke. They adapted to every new wave. When their bodies screamed with exhaustion, they pushed through. At 3 hours and 27 minutes, the final drone was destroyed. The human team collapsed, gasping for air. But they had lasted longer than any other species. The commentators were confused. How did they endure so long? They are so small. In the observation deck, Huntmaster Karn smiled. Because they can push past pain. Because they refuse to quit. This is persistence. The third challenge was the endurance trial. Teams had to cross a hostile environment with extreme heat, thin atmosphere, and limited supplies. It was designed to break even the hardiest species within 48 hours. Most teams tried to rush through. They wanted to finish quickly before exhaustion set in. Species collapsed in the heat. Some quit after 30 hours. Others made it to 45 before their bodies gave out. The human team walked. They did not run. They did not rush. They maintained a steady, grinding pace. When the heat became unbearable, they kept walking. When their water ran low, they kept walking. When their bodies begged for rest, they kept walking. Daehyun watched from the station's viewing area. Tears ran down his face. They just keep going. They do not stop. This is what we are. This is what I forgot. 50 hours into the trial, only 3 teams remained. The humans were one of them. At 60 hours, 2 teams quit. At 71 hours, the last non-human team collapsed. The human team crossed the finish line at 73 hours. They were the last to finish, but the only team where all members survived intact. They could barely stand. Their skin was burned. Their bodies were wrecked. But they had finished. The crowd had stopped laughing. Now they watched in stunned silence. The 4th challenge was the pack trial. Teams faced an elite squad of combat robots programmed with the tactics of the galaxy's greatest warriors. Most teams were defeated in minutes. The human team turned the arena into a weapon. Taesung used his engineering knowledge to identify weak points in the arena's structure. Hwan coordinated ambushes. Yuna led the robots into traps. They did not fight fair. They fought smart. They used the environment. They used improvised tools. They adapted constantly. When a tactic failed, they tried something new. They were not strong enough to defeat the robots directly, so they fought indirectly. After 40 minutes of chaos, the last robot fell. The human team stood among the wreckage, battered but victorious. The Apex Council members looked at each other. This was unprecedented. The small humans were succeeding through methods no one had seen before. The final challenge was announced. Single combat. Each species sent their champion. Taesung stepped forward for humanity. His final opponent was Gron the Immovable, a Thornak warlord who had never lost a fight. Gron was twice Taesung's height and 10 times his weight. His skin was like stone. His strength could crack steel. The fight began. Gron's first punch created a crater in the arena floor where Taesung had been standing. But Taesung was no longer there. He moved constantly, never standing still. He could not hurt Gron with direct attacks, so he did not try. He just kept moving. 1 hour passed. Gron was still strong but starting to breathe hard. Taesung was exhausted but refused to stop. He made Gron chase him. Made Gron swing and miss. Made Gron waste energy. 2 hours. The Thornak's movements were slower. Taesung's were too, but he pushed through the pain. In the stands, humans across the galaxy watched and remembered what they were. Persistence hunters. Endurance killers. The Dravok began to chant. The persistence. The persistence. 3 hours into the fight, Gron made a mistake. His massive arm overextended on a swing. For just a moment, a joint in his stone-like armor was exposed. Taesung struck once, twice, 50 times. Small strikes that individually meant nothing but together meant everything. Gron tried to defend, but his arms were too heavy. Too tired. The joint cracked. Then split. The Thornak roared in pain and rage, but his body would not obey anymore. He collapsed to his knees, then fell forward. The arena went silent, then erupted in chaos. The Apex Council convened immediately. They could not deny what they had witnessed. The debates lasted hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Huntmaster Karn addressed the Council and the watching galaxy. For too long we have defined predators by teeth and claws, by size and strength, but we forgot the oldest form of predation, the persistence hunt. These humans are not prey. They are apex predators who hunt through endurance. They brought down mammoths with nothing but patience and stone. They climbed to the top of their world despite being weaker than everything that wanted to eat them. They are predators and they have proven it. The vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Humanity was granted status as an apex species. Earth received a seat on the Apex Council. Taesung stood in the arena, barely conscious. His team surrounded him, supporting him. Across the galaxy, humans watched and felt something stir inside them. Pride, recognition, memory of what they truly were. 6 months later, Station Valhalla 9 had changed completely. Humans walked the corridors with quiet confidence. Other species gave them space, not from contempt but from respect, and a new understanding of what humans represented. Taesung, now officially Ambassador Taesung, met with Huntmaster Karn in the Deep Sanctum. The ancient Dravok presented him with a blade forged in the traditional way. You reminded the galaxy of a truth they forgot. The most dangerous predator is not the strongest or fastest. It is the one that never stops coming. Tae-sung accepted the blade with gratitude. We did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to survive. That is what we have always done. News of the right of recognition reached the Apex Council within days. The council governed all major species in the galaxy. They decided which species were considered predators and which were prey. They granted seats of power based on proven strength and hunting capability. The idea that humans might be apex predators caused immediate chaos. The Vraxian Empire protested loudly. Their representatives stood before the council and demanded action. One human defeats one warrior in a single fight and suddenly, we are supposed to believe an entire species is predator class? This is absurd. The Dravok are old and sentimental. They see what they want to see. But the Dravok representative, an ancient female named Matriarch Shen, disagreed. We do not make mistakes about predation. We have studied humanity. They are persistence hunters. This is not a new classification. It is one of the oldest and most effective hunting strategies in nature. The council has simply been blind to it. The debate raged for weeks. Some species supported humanity's recognition. Others violently opposed it. The entire galactic hierarchy was built on the assumption that humans were weak prey species. If that changed, everything changed. Finally, Vrax Commander Kroll himself appeared before the council. His shame at losing to Tai-sung had turned to rage. I propose a formal solution. Let humanity prove themselves in the grand proving. If they are truly apex predators, they should have no difficulty demonstrating this. The council members looked at each other. The grand proving was the ultimate test. It was how new species earned their place in the galactic hierarchy. It consisted of 5 brutal challenges designed to test every aspect of predator capability. And to make it fair, Kroll continued with a cruel smile. Humanity should send average representatives, not their warriors, not their special forces. If they are truly apex predators, even their common citizens should be formidable. Matriarch Shen narrowed her eyes. You seek to humiliate them. I seek the truth, Kroll replied. Let the humans prove their worth or let them accept their place as prey. The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would compete in the grand proving. They would have 2 months to prepare. When word reached Earth, panic spread through the government. They knew the truth about humanity's nature, but they also knew that modern humans had grown soft. They lived in cities. They worked in offices. They had forgotten the persistence hunting that made their ancestors apex predators. A delegation was quickly assembled and sent to Station Valhalla 9. 3 people arrived on a fast transport ship. The first was Juan, a military advisor with scars across his face and iron in his eyes. He had fought in the border conflicts where humans struggled to defend their colonies from aggressive alien species. The second was Yuna, a survival specialist. She had trained in Earth's harshest environments, from frozen tundras to scorching deserts. She understood what the human body could endure when pushed to its limits. The third was Tai-sung. After the right of recognition, Earth's government had named him unofficial ambassador to the predator species. He had started this. Now he would help finish it. They met in a secure room on the station. Juan spread out documents on the table. The grand proving consists of 5 challenges. Each one tests different aspects of predator capability. We have 2 months to prepare a team. Who will compete? Ji-won asked. She had insisted on being part of the preparation. We need volunteers from humans already on the station, Yuna said. The council specified average citizens, not soldiers. They want to prove we are weak, so we show them what average humans can do. Over the next week, they gathered volunteers. 18 humans came forward. Most were engineers like Tae-sung. Some were merchants. A few were scientists. None were warriors. But all of them were tired of being treated as prey. Juan looked at the volunteers with grim determination. I cannot teach you to fight like Vraxians. You will never be that strong. I cannot teach you to move like Kalmiri. You will never be that fast. But I can teach you what you already are. I can remind you of what your ancestors were. The training began. They did not practice combat techniques. Instead, they ran. They ran for hours every day, around the station's exercise tracks, through the corridors, up and down stairs. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs screamed. Then they ran more. Persistence, Juan told them. That is your weapon. Every other species in the galaxy can sprint faster than you, but none of them can run as long as you. This is your advantage. Yuna taught them about endurance. Pain is temporary. Exhaustion is temporary. What matters is your mind. Your body will tell you to stop long before you actually need to. Learn to ignore it. Learn to push past the screaming muscles and the burning lungs. That is what made your ancestors apex predators. Ji-Wan provided biological data on the other species competing. She showed them weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Knowledge is a weapon too. Study your opponents. Understand them. Use what you learn. Taesung worked with them on problem solving. We cannot win through strength. We win through thinking, through adapting, through using everything around us as a tool. This is what humans do. We turn our environment into an advantage. As the weeks passed, something changed in the volunteers. They stood straighter, moved with more confidence. The fear in their eyes was replaced by determination. They were remembering something the galaxy had made them forget. Huntmaster Karn visited the training sessions. He watched with approval as the humans ran lap after lap without stopping. Good, he told Juan. You remind them of their nature. This is correct. Will it be enough? Juan asked. Karn's expression was unreadable. 50 species are entering the grand proving. Many are larger, stronger, faster than humans. But size and strength are not everything. Your species survived an entire planet of predators. You survived ice ages and droughts and disasters. You survived because you refused to die. Remember that. The grand proving was announced across the galaxy. Billions would watch. For humanity, it was more than a competition. It was a judgment. Win and they would be recognized as apex predators. Lose and they would be forever marked as prey. Daehyun watched the preparations with growing hope. He had lived 15 years accepting humanity's weakness. Now he saw humans training to prove their strength. Maybe we were never weak, he said to Taesung. Maybe we just forgot what strength really means. 2 days before the proving, the Dravok elders summoned the human team. All 3 elders were present. Matriarch Shen, Huntmaster Karn, and battle-scarred Rax. Listen carefully, young humans, Matriarch Shen said. The galaxy will try to make you fight like them. They will try to make you match their strength, their speed, their natural weapons. Do not fall into this trap, Huntmaster Karn nodded. Fight like humans. Hunt like your ancestors. Be patient. Be persistent. Outlast them. This is how you prove what you are. Battle-scarred Rax spoke last. His voice was deep and old. Strength fades. Speed fades, but will? Will is eternal. This is the lesson we learned millennia ago. This is the lesson you must show the galaxy. The human team left the deep sanctum in silence. They understood now. This was not about proving they were as strong as Vraxians or as fast as Kalmiri. This was about proving they were something different, something perhaps more dangerous. On the night before the grand proving, Taesung stood at an observation window, looking out at the stars. Ji-Won joined him. Are you afraid? She asked. Terrified, Taesung admitted, but also excited. For the first time since I came to this station, I do not feel like prey. I feel like what I really am. What are you? Ji-Won asked. Taesung smiled. I am human. I am a persistence hunter. I am a descendant of the apes who looked at mammoths and decided to hunt them anyway. I am part of the species that conquered its own planet through sheer stubbornness, and tomorrow I am going to show the galaxy what that means. Below them, the arena was being prepared. 50 species. 5 challenges. 1 question to answer. Were humans prey or were they predators? Tomorrow, the galaxy would find out. The harassment continued for 2 weeks. Taesung's food was tampered with. His tools disappeared and reappeared broken. Aliens shoved him in corridors and station security did nothing. The Vraxian guards just watched and laughed. Taesung kept working. He fixed the life support systems 1 panel at a time. He learned to move through the station during quiet hours. He learned which corridors to avoid. He learned to expect trouble and prepare for it, but trouble found him anyway. It happened in the main commerce hub, a massive open area where thousands of aliens gathered to trade and socialize. Taesung was passing through on his way to the lower decks when a voice boomed across the crowd. There, the Terran who thinks he belongs here. The crowd parted. Frax Commander Kroll stood in the center, his black armor gleaming. Around him stood other Vraxians, all massive and dangerous. The crowd grew quiet. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Tae-sung stopped walking. His heart hammered in his chest, but he kept his face calm. Running would only make things worse. Kroll approached, each step making the metal floor ring. He stopped inches from Tae-sung, forcing the human to crane his neck to look up. You continue to disrespect us with your presence, soft skin. You work in areas meant for real workers. You breathe air meant for strong species. I am doing my job, Tae-sung said. His voice was quiet but steady. Your job? Kroll laughed. You are a toy pretending to be useful. Your whole species is a mistake that learned to use tools. The crowd murmured. Some aliens laughed. Others watched with interest. In the shadows at the edge of the hub, Huntmaster Karn watched with ancient eyes. Kroll leaned closer. I challenge you to a proving. You know what this is? In the galaxy, disputes are settled through combat. Strength against strength. If you refuse, you admit that humans are prey. You admit that you have no right to walk among predators. Tae-sung felt ice in his stomach. He knew about provings. They were ritualized fights where species proved their worth. Refusing a proving meant accepting permanent shame. Not just for him, but for all humans. But accepting meant fighting Kroll. A creature that outweighed him by hundreds of pounds. A creature with natural armor and claws that could cut through steel. I accept, Tae-sung heard himself say. The crowd erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some laughed. Others seemed shocked. Kroll's eyes widened slightly, then he smiled. It was a terrible smile. 3 days, Kroll said. The proving arena. Do not run away, little human. It would be disappointing. News of the proving spread through the station like fire. Within hours, everyone knew. The small Terran had accepted a death match against a Vraxian commander. Betting pools opened immediately. The odds were 100 to 1 against Tae-sung. Ji-won found him that evening. Her face was pale with fear. What have you done? Kroll will kill you. You need to run. Leave the station. Break your contract. Anything but this. If I run, what message does that send? Tae-sung asked. That humans are cowards? That we accept being treated like prey? Better a living coward than a dead fool. Ji-won shouted. Then her voice broke. Please. I do not want to watch you die. Dae-hyun came too. She is right. I have seen provings. I have seen what Vraxians do to opponents. There is no shame in survival. Pride means nothing if you are dead. But Tae-sung shook his head. Maybe pride does mean something. Maybe it means everything. He spent the next 3 days preparing. He could not make himself stronger. He could not grow armor or claws. But he could learn. He studied recordings of Vraxian combat. He watched how they moved, how they attacked, how they defended. Vraxians relied on their natural advantages. They used overwhelming strength in their armored bodies. They expected opponents to either match their power or die trying. They did not adapt. They did not need to. That was their weakness. Ji-won visited him on the second day. Her fear had turned to resignation. If you are going to do this, at least do it smart. She brought him biological data on Vraxian anatomy. There, at the base of the skull, a neural cluster. It is protected by armor, but if you can reach it, if you can hit it hard enough, it will shut down their system temporarily. Tae-sung memorized the location. It was a tiny target, nearly impossible to reach in combat, but it was something. On the morning of the proving, Huntmaster Karn stood in the deep sanctum with 2 other Dravok elders. The human accepted, one elder said. Foolish. He will die. Perhaps, Karn replied. Or perhaps we will see something interesting. The arena was packed. Thousands of aliens filled the viewing stands. More watched via holographic broadcasts across the station. In all the years of provings on Valhalla 9, no human had ever participated. This would be entertainment. This would be a lesson about the natural order. Tae-sung walked into the arena. The floor was hard metal. The walls were reinforced steel. There were no weapons, no tools. Just open space and 2 fighters. Kroll entered from the opposite side. The crowd roared. The Vraxian raised his arms, basking in the attention. Then he looked at Tae-sung and his expression turned cold. Last chance to run, pray. Tae-sung said nothing. He watched. He waited, a horn sounded. The proving began. Kroll charged immediately. His speed was terrifying for something so large. His clawed hand swung toward Tae-sung's head with enough force to decapitate. Tae-sung dove aside. The claw missed by inches. He rolled, came up running. His only advantage was mobility. He had to use it. Kroll turned and charged again. The floor cracked under his feet. Tae-sung dodged left then right. Each swing of those massive arms created wind that tugged at his clothes. Each miss made the crowd gasp. "Stop running," Kroll roared. "Fight like a warrior." But Tae-sung did not fight like a warrior. He fought like a human. He used the environment. When Kroll charged, Tae-sung led him toward a support pillar. At the last second, Tae-sung ducked aside. Kroll's shoulder hit the pillar with a massive clang. The Vraxian barely noticed. His armor absorbed the impact, but it slowed him for a fraction of a second. Minutes passed. Then 10 minutes. Then 20. Kroll was strong, but he was getting frustrated. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, this small human kept moving, kept dodging, kept refusing to be caught. The crowd's laughter had stopped. Now they watched in silence. This was not entertainment anymore. This was something else. Tae-sung's lungs burned. His muscles screamed. He had been running and dodging for 20 minutes without rest. Sweat poured down his face, but he did not stop. Could not stop. Kroll made a mistake. He overextended on a swing, putting too much weight forward. For just a moment, his neck was exposed. The neural cluster Ji-won had shown him. Tae-sung moved without thinking. He grabbed a piece of broken debris from the floor, something that had cracked off the pillar. He used all his remaining strength to leap onto Kroll's back. The Vraxian roared and tried to shake him off, but Tae-sung held on with desperate strength. He drove the debris into the neural cluster at the base of Kroll's skull. Once, twice, 3 times. The metal pierced through a gap in the armor plating. Kroll's roar cut off. His legs buckled. The massive Vraxian fell forward and crashed to the arena floor like a falling building. He did not move. The arena fell into absolute silence. Tae-sung slid off Kroll's back. He could barely stand. His vision swam. But he stayed on his feet. He had to stay on his feet. Medical teams rushed into the arena. They checked Kroll. After a moment, one of them announced, "Alive, unconscious, the proving is concluded." Slowly, one alien started to clap. Then another. Then the entire arena erupted in noise. Not all of it was friendly. Some aliens were angry. Others were shocked. But all of them had seen the impossible. A human had defeated a Vraxian warrior. In the observation deck, Huntmaster Karn smiled. It was a terrifying expression on a Dravok's face, all teeth and satisfaction. He turned to the other elders. "Did you see it? The way he moved? The way he refused to quit?" "He was prey running from a predator," one elder said. "No," Karn replied. "He was a predator wearing down his prey. Like the old ways. Like the persistence hunts of ancient times. This human hunts the way we used to hunt before we grew strong enough to kill quickly." The other elders looked at each other, then back at the arena where Tae-sung stood, barely conscious but still standing. "Interesting," one elder said. "Very interesting," Karn agreed. The station changed after the proving. Tae-sung felt it immediately. Aliens no longer shoved him in corridors. They stepped aside when he passed. Some watched him with confusion, others with suspicion, a few with something that might have been respect. Kroll recovered 3 days later. The Vraxian commander said nothing publicly, but his shame was obvious. In Vraxian culture, losing to a smaller species was the ultimate humiliation. He avoided Tae-sung completely. When they passed in corridors, Kroll looked away. Ji-won could not stop talking about it. "Do you understand what you did? No human has ever won a proving against a Vraxian. Never. You changed something. I do not know what, but you changed something." Dae-hyun seemed different too. The defeat in his eyes had lessened. He stood a little straighter. "Maybe I was wrong," he said quietly. "Maybe we do not have to bow our heads." But the real change came 6 days after the proving. Tae-sung received a message on his communicator. The words were simple, but they made his blood run cold. "Huntmaster Karn requests your presence in the deep sanctum. Come alone. Come now." Ji-won grabbed his arm when he told her, "No, the deep sanctum is where the galaxy's most dangerous predators gather. The Dravok are worse than the Vraxians. They are ancient killers. This is a trap." "Maybe," Tae-sung said. "But if I refuse, it will be seen as cowardice. I have to go." The deep sanctum was located in a restricted section of the station. Guards watched every entrance, but when Tae-sung approached, they stepped aside without a word. The message had granted him access. Inside, the atmosphere changed completely. The air smelled different, sharper, like something primal and old. The walls were decorated with trophies from 100 worlds. Skulls and claws and weapons, each one told a story of death and hunting. Taesung's hands shook, but he kept walking. He entered a large chamber. 3 Dravok waited inside. They were massive, even larger than the Vraxians. Their bodies were covered in scars that told of countless battles. Their eyes were ancient and knowing. These were not just predators. These were the apex of apex predators. The center Dravok stepped forward. "I am Huntmaster Karn. You are Taesung, the human who defeated Vrax Commander Kroll." "Yes," Taesung managed to say. His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. Karn studied him for a long moment. "You are afraid. Good. Fear means you understand what we are. But you came anyway. Also good. Sit." A chair appeared, brought by a smaller alien servant. Taesung sat. The 3 Dravok remained standing, towering over him. "I have been watching you since you arrived on this station," Karn said. "I watched you work while others sabotaged you. I watched you get knocked down and climb back up. I watched you accept a proving you should have refused. And I watched how you fought." Taesung said nothing. He did not know what to say. "Tell me, small one, what do you know about predators?" Karn asked. "They hunt," Taesung replied. "They kill to survive." True, but incomplete. Karn began to pace. "The galaxy recognizes predators by obvious signs. Sharp teeth, strong claws, armored bodies, fast reflexes. This is what the Apex Council uses to determine which species are predators and which are prey." He stopped pacing and looked directly at Taesung. "But there is another kind of predator. A rarer kind, a more terrifying kind. Do you know what I speak of?" Taesung shook his head. "Persistence predators," Karn said. "Hunters who do not kill with strength or speed. Hunters who kill with endurance, who chase their prey for days, who never stop coming, who run their targets to exhaustion and death." One of the other Dravok spoke. "We studied your planet, human. We studied your evolution. Do you know what we found?" "No," Taesung whispered. "Your ancestors hunted animals 10 times their size," the Dravok said. "They did not have claws. They did not have armor. They did not have venom or strength. But they had something else. They could run farther than anything else on their planet. They could track for days. They could coordinate in packs using complex communication. They could throw projectiles with deadly accuracy. And most important, they could override their own survival instincts through willpower alone." Karn nodded. "Your species hunted mammoths, massive creatures with thick skin and deadly tusks. How? By chasing them for days until the mammoth collapsed from exhaustion. Then your ancestors moved in with their simple weapons and finished the job. This is persistence hunting. This is the most patient and terrifying form of predation in the universe." Taesung felt something shift inside him. He had never thought about humanity that way. He had accepted the galaxy's view. Humans were weak, fragile, prey. "You defeated Kroll the same way your ancestors defeated mammoths," Karn continued. "You did not try to match his strength. You made him chase you. You wore him down. You waited for a mistake. And when it came, you struck. This is not how prey fights. This is how apex predators fight when they are smaller than their prey." The 3rd Dravok elder spoke for the first time. "We have watched the galaxy forget what true predation means. Species have grown strong and fast. They kill quickly now, but they have forgotten patience. They have forgotten endurance. Your species remembers because you never stopped being persistence hunters." Karn stepped closer to Taesung. "Stand up, human." Taesung stood. His legs felt weak. Karn placed one massive clawed hand on Taesung's shoulder. The weight was incredible, but the touch was gentle. "I perform the rite of recognition. This is a Dravok ceremony. It means I acknowledge another apex predator. It means I see you as kin. Not as prey, not as lesser. As kin." The other 2 Dravok elders approached. They each placed a hand on Taesung's other shoulder. Together they spoke in their ancient language. The words echoed through the chamber. When they stepped back, Karn looked at Taesung with something that might have been respect. "Go back to your people, Hunter. Tell them what they are. Tell them the galaxy has forgotten, but we remember. Tell them the Dravok recognize humanity as persistence killers, as apex predators who hunt through endurance and will." Taesung left the deep sanctum in a daze. He did not fully understand what had happened, but he knew it was important. He knew it changed everything. Word spread faster than fire through a dry forest. The Dravok, the most feared predator species in the galaxy, had performed the rite of recognition. For a human, a prey species. Except now the Dravok were saying humans were not prey at all. The mockery stopped completely. Aliens watched Taesung differently now. There was uncertainty in their eyes. Fear. If the Dravok said humans were predators, what did that mean? What had the galaxy been wrong about? Taesung returned to his quarters to find them untouched. The threatening messages had stopped. His belongings were safe. The harassment was over. Ji-won visited that evening. What happened in there? Everyone is talking about it. They say Karn called you kin. They say the Dravok recognize humans as apex predators. Taesung sat down heavily. They told me what we really are. What we have always been. What do you mean? We are not prey, Ji-won. We never were. We are hunters. We just hunt differently than other predators. We hunt through endurance, through patience, through refusing to give up. That is what Karn saw when he watched me fight Kroll. That is what the galaxy has been blind to. Ji-won stared at him. Slowly understanding dawned in her eyes. Persistence hunters. Like our ancestors. Exactly like our ancestors. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain despite being weaker than everything that wanted to eat us. We did it by never stopping, by outlasting everything, by being too stubborn to die. Dae-hyun heard the news too. He found Taesung the next day in the mess hall. The old merchant's eyes were wet. I spent 15 years bowing my head. 15 years accepting that humans were nothing, and all that time we were predators. We were always predators. We forgot, Taesung said. The galaxy told us we were weak and we believed them. But the Dravok remember. They study species. They understand predation, and they see what we really are. That night, Taesung could not sleep. He thought about Earth. About a small blue planet where hairless apes had somehow conquered an entire world. Not through strength. Not through speed. But through persistence. Through endurance. Through the absolute refusal to give up. He thought about humanity spreading to the stars. Slowly, painfully, while other species leaped ahead with natural advantages. But humans kept going, kept building, kept pushing forward, just like his ancestors chasing mammoths across frozen plains, just like him fighting Kroll in the arena, never stopping, never quitting. The galaxy was starting to notice, and some aliens were beginning to be afraid. Taesung stepped off the transport shuttle and into Station Valhalla 9 for the first time. The massive space station stretched out before him like a metal city floating in the void. Everywhere he looked, aliens towered over him. Some had scales that glittered under the artificial lights. Others had fur or skin that looked like rock. All of them were huge. He pulled his repair kit closer to his chest and tried not to stare. Back on Earth, he was average height. Here he felt like a child among adults. A very small, very breakable child. The station buzzed with activity. Cargo haulers moved massive containers that would crush a human flat. Alien workers shouted in languages that hurt his ears. The air smelled strange, like metal and something he could not name. It reminded him why so few humans worked in deep space. Out here, humanity was just another weak species trying to survive. Taesung made his way to the engineering bay, where he would spend the next 6 months. His assignment was simple. Fix the life support systems in the lower decks. Keep the air flowing and the water clean. It was unglamorous work, but it paid well. Earth needed the money and Taesung needed to help his family. When he arrived at the engineering bay, the mockery started immediately. A massive creature with black armor plating and claws like knives looked down at him. Its eyes were yellow and cold. What is this? The creature rumbled. They sent a Terran? A softskin? Other aliens gathered around. They were all huge. Some had 4 arms. Others had tails thick as tree trunks. They all stared at Taesung like he was a joke. I am Vrax Commander Kroll, the armored creature said. I lead the Vraxian workers here. We do not work with prey species. Taesung swallowed hard. He had been warned about this. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were seen as weak, fragile, too small to matter. Most aliens could not understand how humanity had survived their own planet, let alone reached the stars. I am here to do a job, Taesung said quietly. He tried to keep his voice steady. The station hired me to fix the life support systems. Kroll laughed. It was a horrible sound, like rocks grinding together. You cannot even reach the high panels, little Terran. How will you fix anything? The other aliens joined in the laughter. Tae-sung felt his face grow hot, but he said nothing. He had learned long ago that arguing with bullies only made things worse. Over the next few days, the harassment got worse. The alien workers refused to help him. They hid his tools. They gave him wrong information about the systems he needed to repair. When Tae-sung asked questions, they ignored him or gave answers that made no sense. One evening, Tae-sung was working alone in a dark corridor. The life support panel he needed to access was high on the wall. He dragged a container over and climbed up. His hands moved quickly, rewiring the damaged circuits. This was what he was good at: fixing things, making broken systems work again. He did not notice the shadow behind him until it was too late. Strong hands grabbed the container and pulled. Tae-sung fell hard, his tools scattering across the floor. Pain shot through his shoulder where he hit the ground. Above him, 3 Vraxians stood laughing. "Prey should stay on the ground," one of them said. They walked away, their heavy footsteps echoing in the corridor. Tae-sung lay there for a moment, catching his breath. His shoulder throbbed. His tools were everywhere. He wanted to go home. He wanted to quit. But he thought about his family. He thought about the contract he had signed. He thought about what giving up would mean. Slowly, carefully, he picked himself up. He gathered his tools. He set up the container again and climbed back up to finish the repair. What Tae-sung did not see was the figure watching from the shadows at the end of the corridor. The creature was old, covered in scars, with eyes that had seen 1,000 hunts. This was Huntmaster Karn, one of the ancient Dravok. His species was legendary. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, the hunters that all others feared. Karn watched the small Terran climb back up. He watched him finish the repair despite the pain. He watched him refuse to give up. And something stirred in the old hunter's memory. Something about the way this human moved, the way he assessed his environment, the way he kept going when any sensible prey would have run. Karn had studied many species in his long life. He knew prey when he saw it. Prey ran, prey hid. Prey gave up when the odds were against them. This human did none of those things. Interesting, Karn thought. Very interesting indeed. The next day, Tae-sung met another human on the station. Her name was Ji-won, and she worked as a xenobiologist in the science division. She found him in the mess hall, sitting alone at a table too large for him. "You are the new engineer," Ji-won said, sitting down across from him. Her eyes were tired. "I heard about what happened." "The Vraxians," Tae-sung nodded. "They do not want me here." "No one wants us here," Ji-won said quietly. "Humans are at the bottom. We are prey species in their eyes. The best thing you can do is finish your job and leave. Do not make trouble. Do not stand out." Before Tae-sung could respond, another human approached. This one was older, with gray in his hair and defeat in his eyes. His name was Dae-hyun, and he ran a small trading shop on the station. "She is right," Dae-hyun said. "I have been here 15 years. I learned fast. Bow your head. Say yes, stay small. That is how humans survive out here." Tae-sung looked at both of them. He saw the fear in Ji-won's eyes. He saw the broken spirit in Dae-hyun's posture. Is this what the galaxy did to humans? Made them forget what they were? Made them accept being treated like nothing? That night, Tae-sung returned to his quarters. Someone had been inside. His belongings were scattered. His small collection of personal items from Earth was broken. On the wall, written in Galactic Standard, was a message that made his blood run cold. Prey should know their place. Tae-sung stood there for a long time, looking at the message. He thought about Ji-won's warning. He thought about Dae-hyun's advice. He thought about giving up and going home. Then he thought about something else. He thought about his ancestors. Humans who had climbed out of the caves. Humans who had survived ice ages and predators and disasters. Humans who had looked at the impossible and kept going anyway. Tae-sung picked up his broken belongings. He cleaned his quarters. He did not erase the message on the wall. Instead, he left it there. A reminder. Tomorrow he would go back to work. He would fix the systems. He would do his job. And he would not bow his head. Because somewhere deep inside, Tae-sung knew something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans were not prey. They had never been prey. They were something else entirely. They just needed to remember what that was.